My name is Steve Kidry. I'm one of the owners of MCA. Today I'm here to talk to you about how MCA conducts a reline. It's 8 a.m. and we're here in a Shoppers Drug Mart not far from our head office. What I'd really like to talk about before we get into the actual steps of a reline is a step that you should have done probably about a week ago, which is call the store for an appointment to make sure that when you come in with your team, the store is ready for you. When you make that pre-call, really what you should be talking to the store manager or the assistant manager about is the date and time, the specific date and time that you'd like to do the reline on, and to get his agreement to that date and time. You'd like to talk to him. You'll have from your store list the supposed correct size of the section, so you'd like to confirm that it is a 16-foot section or a 20-foot section or whatever the right size is. You'd also like to talk to them quickly about, are there any impediments in the section, any posts, anything that's out of the ordinary which might cause you some challenges when doing the reline. In this store we do have a post. I'll show it to you in a minute, but I'll also talk to you about how you need to deal with that. Finally, what we're concentrating today on is the hair color reline. And with that reline, the store will be getting in some new fixtures or trays as they bring in new colors and shades. And so you have to talk to him also about have those new trays or fixtures come into place. So when you're doing the pre-call, a week before you actually do the reline, you have to call a store, set up a specific day and time for you to come in, make sure that store is ready for you, and also ask him for two things. The day before you come in for the reline, you should ask the store to print off a copy of the planogram for you. Also, you'll need a new set of shelf tags, and so you really should ask the store the day before the reline to print off a set of shelf tags for you as well. Finally, you need to get a contact. Yesterday when I was talking to this store manager, his name was Bruno. Bruno's not in this morning. His assistant manager is here. And just like that, for when you set up your reline, you could be talking to the Bruno or the store manager in your area, and you could be doing the reline on the day when he's not going to be in. So you need to make sure that you get the contact person for when you arrive at the store, the person you need to ask for. Okay, so that's the pre-call. Thank you. We talked a little bit earlier about the possibility in a section that there may be a post or an impediment which prevents or making that doing the reline a little more difficult. Here we have a post in the middle of what originally was a 20-foot hair care section. So when you originally talked to the store manager on your pre-call, he would say to you, I have a 20-foot section, but I have a post in the middle of it. In this case, there's 4 feet on this side of the post, and then there's a foot post, and then as you move along over here, there should be 5 more 4-foot sections. But because of the post, in the middle of this section here, they've put in about a 2.5-foot or a 30-inch shelf to make up for the post. And so, working with the store manager, you would have to figure out what adjustments you would need to make in your planogram to put a 20-foot section into what turns out to be about a 19-foot section. All right, so we've arrived at the store on the day of the reline. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, and the very first thing we want to do is make sure that the store staff knows that we're in the store. After that, we have to ask them for some materials. Number 1, we want to get a copy of the planogram. Number 2, we want to get a copy of all the shelf tags. And if those aren't ready for us, then we need to ask them to start making them for us then. Finally, we need some other materials. We probably should get a shopping cart because we're going to be taking product off the shelf and putting product back on the shelf. We're going to ask the store for some cleaning materials because as we take the old product off the shelf, then we'll want to have to clean the shelves. We probably want to get a couple of boxes, and I'll talk about them later on, but we'll need boxes because some of the items that are going to come off the shelf are going to be delisted or no longer carried by the store. And we need to take those products off the shelf, put them in the box, and when the box is full or when we've got all the delisted items off the shelf, then we want to give that box to the store manager for them to handle. When you're here in front of the section and the very first thing you're going to do is, from our account manager, you'll receive a list of delisted items. Now, delisted items are items that are in the current section that will not be in the new section, and yet they're still the property of the store, and the store has to handle them. So what we need to do, the very first step when we're doing a reline, is to go through the entire section, identify items off this list, and take them off the shelf. I'm just going to take the first package here, but you would take all the packages off this facing, and you would put them down here in the box, and you would continue to do that. So that our objective is, if there's 20 items in the whole category that are going to be delisted, the very first thing we want to do is take those items off the shelf, put them in a box, and give them to the store, and clearly identify it as being delisted, so the store knows how to handle that particular item. Okay, so first thing we're going to do now is start taking product off the shelf. As I said, what we're going to do is we're going to take product off the shelf, out of the tray, and put it in a shopping cart. Get all of that color together, and in this case, this particular color has one facing, so we're going to put that in there. Then the tray is interlinked with the next tray, so we're going to take that tray out. It snaps out easily. We're going to leave the color swatch on the front of it so that we can find that, and then we're going to put that in the shopping cart as well. So at the end of it, we're going to have an empty shelf or an empty couple of shelves. We're going to have a number of packages stacked by color, and then we're going to have a number of trays. So let us continue to work on that, and we'll show you what it looks like at the end. Okay. Where we are now is we've removed all the product from this shelf, and if we were working in the entire category, we might have removed all the product from this 4-foot section. And we might start on the very bottom shelf and work our way up, because we want to make sure the bottom shelf is positioned correctly, and then each shelf is located so many notches or slots from the previous shelf, so that you get to count how many notches and where to put the next shelf before we put any more product on. So we've emptied just this one shelf to give you an example, and you can get the information on shelf heights and etc. off of the planogram that you've gotten from the store. So the shelf heights is there, and then on the next page is also the listing of where the products are and what product goes where on the shelf. So the very first thing we want to do here is to make sure that we've got the correct shelf height. And this shelf is a 4-foot shelf left to right, and probably about 14 inches deep. And it just, if you tilt it up like that, and it simply comes out like that. So that in this particular case, in this store, the bracket, which we've talked about in the presentation, is actually part of the shelf. And you can see at the back, there's little notches on the back of the shelf here that fit into those, or there's little tabs that fit into the notches at the back of the shelf. So now I've got the shelf out, and the very first thing I want to do is check on my diagram to see how high this shelf is going to be above this shelf here. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the back of the gondola. And as you can see, there's these notches or slots. And on your planogram, the paper copy of the planogram, it'll tell you how far this shelf is from the shelf right below it. And in most cases, it'll tell you how many notches or inches it has to go up to do that shelf. So in this case, the notches are about an inch apart, so you can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if this shelf is, the top of this shelf is supposed to be 10 inches above the top of the bottom shelf, then you would count the notches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And if you don't have another shelf there, you could take a pen just lightly and mark that notch, and then move to the other end of the thing and count the same number of notches down here. So we know that when we get the shelf and to put it in, that it's going to be perfectly level.